I nominate Stephen Newton?
Yes, I am.
Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. I'll go through introductions and then we'll go through what we're here for, if that's okay. So my name's Stephen Newton. I'm a ward member for Maiden Earley and Whitegates. If I can ask the other two councillors to introduce themselves, please, then we'll go around everybody else. Pauline, do you want to go? Oh, Bassett, you're going first. Okay.
Okay, I can go. I'm Bassett Alvi and I'm councillor for Ambrook Ward. Thank you.
And I'm Pauline Jorgensen and I'm a councillor for Hillside Ward.
Okay, if we can go through the officers, starting with Lucianne first, please. Kieran, do you want to go next?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kieran Hinchliffe. I'm the service manager for licensing.
Okay, Megan.
I'm Megan Summerfield. I'm a regulatory solicitor and I'm here just observing today.
Thank you. Rachel.
Good afternoon. I'm Rachel Lucas. I'm legal advisor to the panel this afternoon.
Okay, and Alex, or Alec, sorry.
Hiya, I'm Alec, licensing officer for Woking Council.
Thank you. If we can go to the other people, can we start with, is it Gary Clark, is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. I'm a licensing officer for Thames Valley Police.
Thank you. And Adonis. You're on mute, sir.
Yes, I'm Adonis Daniel. I'm the legal representative for Mr. Ratu.
Thank you. And then Ghazi Sakanda, is that right?
It is. So that's Ghazi, and I'm his sister, Saika Sakanda. But I'm also a qualified solicitor with limited, I must add, information in relation to regulatory services. So I'll be representing him today.
Right, and so you're representing him. So are you?
Not formally instructed, no. Just as his sister.
Okay, but you're representing whom?
No, so I'll be speaking on his behalf. He'll be chipping in on Ghazi's behalf.
Ghazi is an objector.
Okay. So we'll get to that in due course. Okay,
yeah,
thank you very much indeed. Okay.
You.
So was it Adonis? Was that you said your name was? So
Adonis Daniel.
Yes. So have you got have we got written agreement from the applicant to say that you can you're representing him? I think we've got that.
I believe that was submitted to you last Friday.
Okay.
An email should have been sent to you.
I've got an email, but it wasn't, the email address wasn't in the name of the applicant. It was the name at the foot of the email was the name of the applicant. It was a different.
That's his personal assistant.
Right. Okay. So what do you believe the name of the email was then? Sorry, I'm just trying to find it because
just wait.
It's a bit confusing to say the least as to say what.
Julia?
No, it wasn't in their name. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it. I had it a moment ago. The email was in the name of Jan Alexander, but also jan.pegasus@gmail.com. So who's that person?
As I say, my understanding is that his personal assistant.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, indeed. No, he's not. He's not well, unfortunately.
No, I understand that.
I spoke to him about 40 minutes ago.
Okay. It's just what I'm trying to do is make sure that you are properly authorised by him, because the email address which it's come from is in a different name and not in the name of the person who did the application and not in his own personal name. So you understand my confusion in terms of what I don't want to do is hear from yourself in good faith and then find that it says you weren't actually authorised by him and somebody else had sent this email, and because all they did was put his name at the foot of it. And how can I prove that
all I can say is I spoke to Mr. Ratib, as I say, about 40 minutes ago.
Okay, so we're taking it on your professional sort of basis that you're authorised. Yes, is that correct? Okay, thank you for that. Right, let's what we're here to do. Sorry if you're hearing some noise. I've got some work going on above my head, which has stopped for about the last 2 hours, and it's now started up again. So we're here to consider an application to renew a street trading consent at Woodlands Avenue, Lay-by, Woodlands Avenue, Woodley. We're going to receive the officer's report and related appendices in relation to the application, and then we're going to hear from other people, witnesses and objectors and so on, and then we'll come to a determination. So we will be following the procedure that's been set out for us, and all parties will be having an opportunity to speak, but and also to ask questions. But if we can follow the process, that will help us all, I think. So don't worry about will you be able to speak? You will. It's just a matter of waiting your turn, if that's okay. In regards to the panel members, we're slightly different in that we can actually ask questions at any time. So just if you please indicate should you wish to do so. So the panel members are myself, Bassett and Pauline. If everybody can indicate that will be helpful to keep good order. So we're first of all going to hear from the, sorry, who was that?
Chairman, sorry to interrupt. Just before we move on, could you confirm that Mr. Mohammed Alpar has been removed from the application?
Well, we were going to come to that, but that was a question that we've got about him in terms of we have in the same email. It says that I wish to withdraw Mohammed Alpar as an assistant for my catering facility in Woodlands Avenue. So yes, that is correct. We have got that information, but we do have other questions that we'll get to because they're still listed on the insurance, and there's other questions around it. So I'm sure we'll get to that in due course. We've got quite a few questions, unfortunately. So the first thing we're going to hear from is the authority representative to outline the application and objections received and to call any witnesses to give evidence. So can I ask Kieran to address that, please? Everyone else can go on mute for the moment, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Kieran, I see we've got Yulia has now joined us. Can you just introduce yourself, please, Yulia? If you can put your camera on as well, that'd be helpful.
Yes, hello. Because I'm John Alpar's personal assistant, I was watching on YouTube this meeting, and to clarify some information, I was thinking it would be helpful if I join as well. So because it was a bit misunderstanding about emails and things like this, so I think I can clarify some information. If it's
that could be very helpful in due course, but thank you very much. Yes, so you're Mr. Ratib's assistant, is what
yes, I'm his personal assistant. I'm dealing with his paperwork, emails, and appointments and things like this. So that's why it's a bit confusion about emails. But actually, email when Jan Ratib sent to council saying that Mr. Adonis Daniel is going to represent him. It was sent from his email. I didn't send it. Jan Ratib sent it by himself, and by himself he sent email that he would wish to withdraw Mr. Alpar from application form as assistant.
Okay, thank you very much. Kieran, can we come to you, please?
Thank you for the invite, Chair. I've asked Alec to present this report.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Thank you. So, the Woking Borough Council street trading policy states that where representations have been received during the consultation period, where no mutually agreeable outcome can be reached between the interested parties and where the application is not otherwise withdrawn, The usual procedure is for the matter to be determined by a hearing of the Licensing and Appeals Subcommittee. Mr. Jan Ratip has applied to renew the street trading consent at Woodlands Avenue Lay-by, Woodlands Avenue, Woodley. Following a public consultation, a representation has been received from Thames Valley Police and a concerned member of the public. Therefore, in accordance with the Council's policy, members are requested to determine the outcome of the application. The following options are open to the Licensing and Appeals Subcommittee. To grant the application in full on the terms and conditions contained within the application. To grant the application as above, modified with such additional measures as they may consider reasonably necessary, or to reject the application. Ms. Julia Bissenbever applied on behalf of Mr. Jan Ratip to renew the street trading consent for Mo's Kebab, Woodlands Avenue, Woodley, on the 25th of October 2024. The hours applied for are Sunday to Thursday, 1500 till 0100, Friday to Saturday, 1500 till 0300. In this application, Mr. Alpar and Mr. Ozan Uyar were nominated as assistants. Green notices displayed around the site are attached as Appendix B as a consultation. Included in the consultation are Thames Valley Police, Environmental Health, Highways, Property Services, Grounds Maintenance, and local ward councillors. During the 28-day consultation period, a representation was received from Thames Valley Police on the grounds that Mr. Alpar and Mr. Uyar are suspects in an affray at Turkish Mangle, Northumberland Avenue, Reading, RG2 7QA. This representation is attached as Appendix C in your pack. Outside of the consultation period, a representation was also received from a concerned member of the public, which is attached as Appendix D. Those that have made a representation have been informed of the time and date of the Licensing and Appeals Subcommittee hearing. In terms of background, Mr. Alpar is named as a street trading assistant on the application. The location of the affray, being a nearby kebab and pizza restaurant, suggests that this violence is business related. Mr. Alpar is believed to be working or otherwise associated with the restaurant. A member of the public has come forward with details of a civil dispute concerning Mr. Alpar, suggesting Mr. Alpar has considerable involvement with the street trading business. This raises serious concerns over the fitness and propriety of this business to continue to benefit from holding a street trading consent with Woking Borough Council. Therefore, members must consider firmer action of the options available to the Licensing and Appeals Subcommittee on determination of this application. In terms of legal considerations, in accordance with the Council policy, in determining appropriateness, the subcommittee is to have due regard to the likely impact on the existing highway users, either as a result of the use of the pitch by a trader or by the trader's customers, the location relative to any residents or businesses likely to be affected by the use of the site, the nature of the trade, the trading times, appearance and impact on the street scene. Taking into account the application and representation received, the Council may grant a street trading consent if they think fit. Should any street trading consent be granted, the Council may attach such conditions to it as they consider reasonably necessary. There is no formal right of appeal in respect of refusal to grant a variation to a street trading consent. If I may just, Chair, add a little context to my report as well. For as long as I've worked here, Mr. Ratip has always been unwell and unavailable. And it's been, as you've heard, it's been given a reason also why he's not here today. I've only ever dealt with Mr. Alpar in relation to this application, who I presume is also the namesake of this business, which in our eyes effectively makes him the de facto street trading consent holder. Therefore, it's of great concern to us that he should be suspected in an affray in a shop that we believe he either owns or works in, and we believe this business has tie to. If you look on page 11 of your pack, you'll see that the van is kept at 228 Northumberland Avenue in Reading when it's not in use. Consequently, we fear that as long as Mo's Kebabs continues to operate, we will not be able to ensure that Mr. Alpar is not associated with the business, and therefore we urge the subcommittee to seriously consider whether this is a suitable business to hold a street trading consent in Wokingham Borough. And just to reiterate, the threshold for enforcement is very low on street trading consents, and if the local authority does not consider it fit to grant a consent, it is entitled to refuse one. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. He's gone, is that right? He's coming back. That's good. Alec, you disappeared for a moment there. You had me worried. So would it be right to say that you've never actually met with Mr. Ratip?
I've never met or spoken to him. No.
You've never spoken with him either. Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Based upon the email that we've got, although Yulia, who actually did the application, is here, I believe it's Mr. Adonis Daniels that is going to be authorised to speak. So if we can hear from you next, and then I'll ask the panel if they've got any questions, and I've got a few already. So can we hear from you, Adonis? So you're presenting the case on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, my questions to Mr. Kumba. How long has this license been held at this location?
For a number of years. I believe it says 11 on the application form. It may go back even further on our record.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Not many years. It says 11 on the application form. It may even go back further than that.
My understanding has been 2001.
It may well be. I believe our online digital records only go back as far as our records go back as far as 2008, but it may be longer than that.
And that's been subject to a number of renewal applications, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. Would I be right in thinking that this is the first time that any complaints have been come forward when the application for renewal has come up?
I believe it's the first time we've received representations, but there have been complaints about the business in the past. Notably that it's not always been there, which, as we've seen from previous street trading consents, is something that we may consider refusal for.
Right, but you haven't refused in the past, though?
Not for this one, no.
No, right. The complaints that you have received, if I go and deal with the, is it Rashina? The email dated the 3rd of December. Where the complaint is, I believe, Mr. Gaza, if I've got that right. Mr. Sikandar?
Yeah.
Yes, in the pack, yeah.
Right. Having received the complaint, did you make any inquiries? Sorry? Okay. Sorry. Did someone say something?
I think just carry on, Adonis.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, you received that email on the 3rd of December. What inquiries in terms of checking out the veracity of what's been said to you, any of that been done?
Well, it's that's mostly hearsay, we have to say. Or something like that still raises concerns to us, and considering we already had concerns about the business.
You've not tested the veracity, but it nevertheless you say it raises concerns. I don't understand the correlation there.
So, Mr. Adonis, this is an opportunity to ask questions of the of the officer if you want to ask any questions. In terms of the representation that's been received, this is a civil standard hearing, and that's included as part of the representation that's permitted to be made. If you then have questions of the representative, he's also present here today. Clearly, there are quite considerable concerns that have been raised, and this subcommittee is there to hear all those concerns and to address them. So I'll welcome both the questions later on to the objectives, should you so wish. But for this section now, if you've got any questions to our officer.
Thank you. Just a couple more. Okay. So you didn't make any inquiries, you've received it and you put it as part of the application to renew. Would that be correct?
It's been included in the pack as we think it's at the least relevant to this hearing.
Okay, that's fine. And we then go on to the email from the police dated the 18th of November 2024. Indicating that Mr. Alpar and Mr. Uya are suspects in an affray. Again, my question is, any further, did you request any further information about the alleged affray at all? Or again, simply put as part of the application?
Well, again, as we've said, it's for the committee to decide the outcome of this hearing, and we've got Gary from the police here, who I think will be able to expand further upon this for the committee to hear.
I'm just asking what actions you took when you received these. That's all. I know we will obviously hear from other people. I'm just interested to see what action you took.
The responsibility.
Other than simply receive the information.
The responsibility, Mr. Adonis, for the licensing authority here is to prepare a report. The responsibility is to prepare a report pack, and as part of the report pack, it details the information that's in the application that's been submitted, and then any representations that are received. So in terms of the format of this hearing, what's put before the subcommittee is the application itself, and then the two representations that have been received. That's the responsibility of the officer. The officers themselves at Woking Borough Council, we're not able to take a decision on the licence. It's only for the subcommittee. So no decision's been made by an officer. It's not a challengeable aspect in terms of an appeal. We're not in an appeal hearing. This is a hearing where a decision has not yet been made, and the decision makers are the panel. So the responsibility on Alec has been to gather the evidence, and that's how you have the pack today. If you then have any questions in terms of the objections that have been received, you're welcome to pursue them with the objectors themselves.
Sorry.
My questions were simply about.
Sorry, I need to leave in 20 minutes because I've got school run. I just have a few questions to Alec Kumba, because he said he has never seen Mr. Ratib by himself in person, but Mr. Ratib was very like he always used to speak on the phone with the Jane Squires and Karen Court when they used to be licensing officers. And I just wonder how long Alec Kumba is actually a licensing officer, because after COVID, we used to do applying for the renewals in person. We used to bring a pack of submitted documents to the council, talk to officers, and see them. After COVID, it's all gone online. We do everything online. There is no like a very big chance to Mr. Ratib to see or meet Alec Kumba, and Alec Kumba doesn't go to the ones all the time to see if John Ratib there as well. So he can't say he never seen him, he is not there, and things like this, because everything what we do is online. As I said, I'm his personal assistant. That's why I'm sending all the applications, all the renewals, and dealing with the paperwork. So if it would be anything like objections before, this is first time. This is first time because Mr. Ratib trading there since I think 2011, as far as I remember, and we have never got any representations. We have never had any problems with the police, with the customers. or with the hygienic. This one always been 4 or 5 stars. We have never had any problems till the seconder came along. I'm sorry, I need to leave now. I'll be back after I pick my kids up.
Okay, thanks, Julia. Alec, did you want to come back?
Yeah, I'll just respond to those. I've worked in this department best part of 3 years now. I've dealt with Julia a number of times. I've dealt with Mr. Alpar a number of times regarding this application over the years.
I never had anything with you about this application. I already only met you once in council when you called me for my own trading license. You have never called Mr. Ratip to come and visit you in council. As I said, all paperwork. So I'm dealing with this, but it was no objection or something serious what you could discuss with Mr. Ratip. I don't even remember if you probably you could ask for renewal hygienic certificates, but nothing else. And we provided this because it was, as I said, it was no objections or anything. So for you to meet Mr. Ratip in person, this is first time.
Well, look, let me say, we can exercise discretion. People can be unwell. That's fine. I'm not disputing that. That's not true at all. I'm not saying that's not true at all. All I'm saying is I've never spoken to or met Mr.
Okay,
Ratip.
but for example,
it's not necessarily a problem.
Owner of McDonald's, is he always in McDonald's? If he's working by himself, he is. This is his right to hire people and work for him. Only what he has to do is just to make sure all his documents, all his applications, everything is right, applying right, and he has got any problems. If any problems, he comes and sorting it out. So if, for example, I cannot have a business and employ people, this is kind of.
Julia,
okay, I'm just gonna go now. This is just my question to Alec: why someone cannot have a business and employ other people?
No, thank you. Are you leaving or are you staying on the call?
I need to go now. I'll be back.
Okay, thank you. We look forward to you rejoining us. But I need to invite people in to speak. If just bear that in mind, please, when you rejoin. Thank you.
Yes.
Alec, did you have anything else to add at this point?
Not that I don't think I've already said, no.
Okay, Mr. Daniels, did you have anything further that you wanted to question of Alec? Is there anything that you want to say in support of the application, as you're the person officially speaking on behalf of the applicant?
Yep, not at this point, Chair, thank you. I don't have any further questions for Mr.
I have some questions for you, if I may, and there may be some from other members of the panel. Is there a company behind this application, or is it a sole trader effectively, or some other kind of partnership? What's the legal structure of this? I'm asking this of Adonis. Well, I did ask him if he wanted to, and I thought that's what he said he didn't want to.
Sorry, I didn't understand. That's what I thought we're finished with you.
No.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you very much. Our case is that this is a license that's been held by Mr. Ratip now, on your records, 2011. A significant period of time where it has been renewed. So far as I'm aware, no issues as such has been brought to the fore. We now have these 2 complaints. So far as I'm aware, Mr. Alpar has now been withdrawn from the application. The background is that it is a sole trader business in which Mr. Ratip has employed other people to physically work on the van. He himself doesn't personally work on the van because he has another number of other business interests. If I start with the complaint received from the member of the public, the member of the public isn't really an independent complainant. This is someone who I understand has been in dispute with Mr. Ratip and Mr. Alpar about the van itself. And because things have not gone quite how he anticipated them going, he's lodged this complaint in order to effectively seek to have the license withdrawn. As you'll see there, he talks about paying for the van, never providing any evidence of this payment, etc., etc. In fact, complaints have gone into the police that he, in fact, has stolen items from the van whilst it's been in his possession. So there, in my submission, this is a matter which clearly the complaint is somewhat tainted by the background of someone who is seeking to effectively take the business away from Mr. Ratib. So far as the police complaint is concerned, Mr. Alpar, the information is there, so I'll deal with that. I understand that the Turkish Mangal is owned by Mr. Alpar. An individual came into the premises, was very vocal, and in fact assaulted a member of Mr. Alpar's staff, and that's been Mr. Uya. That incident escalated to the next door property, in which again this person sought to attack Mr. Alpar with a bottle. And Mr. Alpar defended himself. That person was also arrested. So far as I'm aware, Mr. Uya was never arrested in relation to these proceedings. And I know that because I was involved as a defense solicitor with regard to that matter, so far as Mr. Alpar is concerned. So I'm well aware of the facts of this particular matter. This is a matter that happened back in June, yet it's still ongoing. No decision has been made. Where Mr. Uya is in fact the victim and provided a witness statement in this matter. And as I say, Mr. Alpar was not only defending his member of staff, but also himself from the assault with a weapon. So in my view, whilst the aspect of these issues may well raise concerns in terms of the ongoing license of the particular van, in my submission, given the fact that this is a matter that's been license been renewed a number of years without incident until now, the actual incident regarding Mr. Alpar was not at a place where he was working. Nothing of this nature has happened at the location where the van is located. And essentially, whether or not Mr. Kumbe has seen Mr. Ratib or not is neither here nor there. The point is, once he complies with the terms of the license, and there are clearly no public order issues arising from the location itself where the van is, in my submission, the license ought to be granted. The only proviso I would say, because I anticipate the chair would be raising issues about the license, the insurance policy having Mr. Alpar's name on it, well, that can be removed as a condition of any renewal, and his involvement can be assured, or rather you can have a condition that he's not involved in any way in that particular van and this particular license and how it operates. So as far as Mr. Uya is concerned, as I say, I'm not aware that he was actually arrested, but certainly he was a victim with regard to that issue. Those would be my representations at the moment on behalf of Mr. Ratib.
Thank you. That's helpful. I have got some questions, as I said earlier. So that's helpful. You did clarify that it's a sole trader.
Yes.
Mr. Ratib owns the business. Does he also own the van?
I don't believe he does own the van, no.
Do you know who does own the van?
No. Can you bear with me one moment?
Yeah.
No, the van, as I understand it, is in Mr. Alpar's name.
Okay. So what's the relationship in terms of somebody has the license to trade at a certain place? Mr. Alpar, you've just said, owns the van that they're planning to trade from, and yet Mr. Alpar is no longer involved with the business. Can you please explain that to us?
Well, what the situation is that in order to rationalize the situation and accept, obviously, that there are issues so far as Mr. Alpar being involved, it has been agreed that the ownership of the van will be transferred to Mr. Ratip, so that, as I say, Mr. Alpar will no longer have any involvement. Mr. Ratip and Mr. Alpar go back a long way in terms of their business arrangements. They've had many businesses together, but this is a matter that can be, as I say, simply resolved by Mr. Alpar transferring ownership of the vehicle to Mr. Ratip and his removal from the policy so that he's no longer involved at all.
Okay. Yes, I think we will get to conditions at some point in the judgment, but I think that would be helpful. Bassett, you had a question at this point.
I just wanted to ask one question. The lawyer representing Mr. Ratip mentioned that van, did I get it right? You mentioned earlier that van is in the name of
Mohammed
Mr. Ratip. It's in the name of Muhammad Alpar, not Mr. Ratip, right? The van is in the name
not
of
Mr. Ratip, no.
So it's in the name of Mr. Alpar. Okay, got it. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that because I think I heard that earlier that it's in the name of. And another quick question, because in your statement you mentioned that the objector has raised concern. Is it against Mr. Alpar or against Mr. Ratip as well?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
You mentioned about, the objector who has raised concern against Mr. Ratip regarding the van, and I think it was Mr. Sikandar who raised the concern. Did he raise the issue against both of them, Mr. Alpar and Mr. Ratip, or against Mr. Alpar only?
It's effectively against both of them, but effectively he's been dealing with Mr. Alpar.
So you're saying he's raising it against Mr. Alpar only, and van is in the name of Mr. Alpar, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll come to Pauline next. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Just a couple of questions. Has Mr. Ratip got any other licenses for any other vans?
No, he hasn't.
And any other premises like that?
No.
Thank you. And there were accusations about hygiene being made by one of the people who commented. Has this van had an environmental health hygiene review and classification?
I believe so. My understanding is it 4 stars?
There you go. I'm just going to look it up now.
4 star. Yeah, I understand he's got 4 stars.
And do you know, it'd be useful to know when that was?
At the moment, it's 5 stars. When was it reviewed?
Alec, did you say you were going to look that up?
Yes.
Right.
It's
okay.
five very good as of 8th of February this year.
Okay, thank you very much. There's an allegation that the vehicle was sold to Mr. Sandkar. Is that correct?
That's I understand the allegation, but it's never been sold to him.
Okay. And just to confirm, has Mr. Alpar been charged by the police with any offence?
No.
Thank you very much. That's my questions.
Okay. Based upon what you've said, and obviously there is no charge, what's the reason for withdrawing Mr. Alpar from this? Because obviously he's been quite integral to it in the past, and he's owned the van. So So why is it suddenly at this 11th hour you're withdrawing that?
No, the van is registered in his name. It's all the when you have a vehicle registration number, all it is that that's the name it's registered in. Doesn't signify the owner. Often it does, but the van is effectively owned by Mr. Ratip.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it does. The logbook signifies.
So if I get it right, it is registered to Mr. Alpar, but owned by Mr. Ratip. That's your statement.
Yes. That's their business arrangement that they have.
Because I
That's
thought
the business arrangement.
previously
Okay.
about van ownership, you said it was Mr. Alpar who owned it. You didn't say it was registered to me. I specifically asked about ownership, I thought.
Ownership is effectively Mr. Ratip.
Okay, okay.
What's the van registration, please?
VX14.
Sorry?
The picture.
Put your hand.
What is the van registration, please?
I believe VA14 VLH.
Yeah.
Mr. Sakanda, can you please mute yourself? I'll invite you in due course.
Sorry,
Apologies, I didn't realise. Sorry.
did you say V814 or
VA14 VLH.
Okay. VLH? Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm sure we've got other questions. I'm going to bring in Gary Clark from Thames Valley Police, and I'll come to Luciane. Gary.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in and try and clarify the situation with the investigation. As I say, our objection was raised by the officer in charge of the investigation. Obviously, until I came onto this call, I did not know that Mr. Alpar had been removed as an assistant, which is obviously one of the two things that we were looking for. Now, the investigation is at the stage where it is going to be put forward for an assessment with regard to charging. To clarify, as it stands at the moment, Mr. Alpar was arrested and Mr. Umar was not arrested, but he was interviewed under caution. Now the paperwork has been completed. I think the last voluntary interview was conducted over the weekend. As I say, that paperwork will be going forward and a charging decision will be made. Now, obviously, it's an ongoing investigation, so I'm not sure this is the right forum to go into specific details. I don't think that's right at all. But as all I can say is that given the report from the OIC, that is why we have lodged our objections to both parties. This is about the assistance. This is not about Mr. Ratip and the actual, as far as we are concerned.
I understand, because your document, the document submitted specifically talked about the two assistants rather than Mr. Ratip. I understand that, but also with a lack of any prosecution or anything else, that's there is a presumption in this country, innocent until proven guilty, and at this point in time, that hasn't happened. So we can't really, in my view, sort of give that too much weight at this point in time. Obviously, that will follow due process as you've outlined, and as you can't say anything further, which is I understand the reasons for that, and I respect that. I think we have to consider that in the right way in terms of what we're looking at today. In terms of we can only look at facts and evidence as presented here, and so at this point in time, we know that that particular person has been removed from the application. We can deal with that, as has been said by Mr. Daniels. But I suspect that the rest of it is irrelevant, actually, for this purpose, because it's still waiting to go through. There may be implications in the future, but we can't really consider them for this application. Is my feeling about that. Can I come to? Sorry, Gary, is there anything else you wanted to say on that?
No, I was just going to fully agree with what you just said, so that's allowed.
No, that's very kind, thank you. Luciana.
Can I just clarify, Adonis, just because I'm keeping a formal record of the meeting. Are you on your own, or is there somebody else with you? You seem to be referring to somebody. Are you in a room on your own, or do you have somebody else in the meeting with you?
I've got one of my assistants with me.
That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm trying to get through my process, if that's okay, so we'll carry on with that. So we now get to the point where we have the authorities representative, which is Alec, and objectives, which is Gary and Mr. Sikandar, have the opportunity to question the applicants on their case and the applicant's witnesses. So to keep order to this, can I come to Alec first? Do you have any questions for Mr. Daniels?
I do have one, and I take Gary's point about the innocent until proven guilty, but the police representation is that Mr. Alpar and Mr. Uyar are removed from the consent. Now, given all we've heard about the connections between Mr. Alpar and this street trading consent, even if a condition were to be applied to that consent to remove Mr. Alpar from all involvement in the business, A, that's quite vague, quite hard to enforce, quite poorly defined. So how can we be assured that Mr. Alpar would be truly no longer associated with this business? I don't think we can.
Is that a question or a statement?
That was a question, yes, please. How can you make assurances there?
Well, you can have the conditions specifically defined. If Mr. Alpar is seen in any way involved with the license at all, and that can be by being on insurance, by continuing to have the vehicle registered in his name, by being present at the location at any point, having interaction with anybody working there, and that could be easily policed because you have the authority to turn up. You could and see of an evening when the van is in operation. It's quite easy.
Thank you. Anything else, Alec?
Time to Kieran.
Okay. Kieran.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of Mr. Alpar's involvement with the business as it stands, Mr. Adonis, could you just explain to me how involved Mr. Alpar is presently with the street trading consent, and could you just expand upon how that might change?
In essence, he has been acting in some ways as an agent for Mr. Ratep. In terms of people working at the van and so on. He himself has never physically worked there. So it would be people working there. He may relay certain information that Mr. Ratep may want, et cetera, et cetera.
So in terms of the present ability, Mr. Alpar is almost an operational manager, so employing people who are present at the site and so on. Is that correct?
No, he doesn't employ them. He may recommend people to Mr. Ratep, but that decision is in Mr. Ratep's only decision. It's up to him.
Okay.
Now that could easily change. He can have his personal assistant perform that role as opposed to Mr. Alpar.
And in what other ways has Mr. Alpar been involved with the business? So there's recommendations of staff. We've got acknowledgement in terms of the vehicle ownership. So the vehicle, we've obviously confirmed that many times through the call. In what other ways might Mr. Alpar be involved with the business at present?
No other way.
Okay, and in terms of the applications, I understand it was quite a school run can be stressful at times anyway, and difficult to jump onto a call. Grateful we've got Yulia just joining us back now. But in terms of the applications, we've heard from Alec, and one of the questions earlier on was how long's Alec been employed, and he's been employed as a licensing processing officer for several years before being promoted to licensing officer, and in all his time he's not dealt with Mr. Ratep, but he has voiced his experience of dealing with Mr. Alpar for this license. it comes across from the local authority perspective that it's Mr. Alpar that's quite strongly involved. So in terms of the application, the applications itself, who's going to be handling the applications?
His personal assistant, as she said, she submitted the application. That's up for you now, not Mr. Alpar. She did, and she, as I understand, she did the previous as well.
Okay, I'm grateful for that. In terms of other street trading consents, what experience does Mr. Ratip have of managing street trading businesses?
He's had the experience of managing this particular license since 2011. I think that's sufficient experience. More important, he's a businessman. He has a number of business. He's used to running businesses. He's run restaurants. He's had property business.
So to me, it comes across as some distance and some detachment in terms of the business owner and the conduct, and it comes across that Mr. Alpar is quite significantly involved with this consent. So what would be the changes in the future? What would be the how would the operation might stand? So I think what you've presented is that the vehicle ownership is going to be changed. The personal assistant will submit applications, but what about the site and the management of it? Has there been any thought given there? Because that's not quite come across to me. Well, I'm going to give you the opportunity to address that.
Well, the management is, of course, ensuring that whoever is employed to physically man the van at the hours of operation, keeping checks on that, making sure they're doing things correctly. His personal assistant can do that.
Sorry, I think you're saying can do that, but who is going to do this?
Well, she will do it. That's what she's paid to. She's paid to assist and help Mr. Ratip.
Okay. Kieran, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Pauline.
Thank you. Can I just clarify again something? I think you said that the ownership of the van is Mr. Ratip, but it's actually in Mr. Alpar's name?
Yeah, that's just registered. It's just registered.
Why?
I understand at the time in which the van was purchased, Mr. Alpar had purchased a number of other vehicles because he himself, Mr. Alpar, has other licenses for other vehicles.
Sorry, that didn't really answer the question.
Well, they were purchased in his name, Mr. Alpar's name. There was no reason because the money to purchase it came from Mr. Ratip. And at the end of the day, all the logbook does is say who the registered keeper of the vehicle is. It doesn't signify ownership.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But I don't really understand what the benefit of doing that would be. But
it's a non-issue for they've been doing business together for decades, for over 20 years.
So
they know one another, they trust one another.
So you said Mr. Alpar. Harold, you said Mr. Alpar. You said Mr. Alpar. Yeah. Sorry, you said Mr. Ratip had no other street trading businesses. Does Mr. Alpar?
No. Yes, he does. Yes.
What does he have?
He has, I think, two others to my recollection. Yes, I think he has two others.
And he'll continue. Okay. Okay. Thank you. That clarifies that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bassett.
So you mentioned earlier in the meeting that the job of Mr. Alpar is to relay information sometime to Mr. Ratip. Did I get it right? Sometime, and he's not kind of any business significance. But it looks to me he's so important that the van was in his name, although he didn't have the ownership. But the van was still in his name. And you also mentioned just a little earlier that their business relationship is more than 20 years. So it means he's not just simply an assistant, he's more than an assistant then.
No, I've said that they have a business, they've done businesses together and so on. But if you look at the insurance, you will see that not only it is Mr. Alpar's name on it, Mr. Ratip's name is on it, and Yulia, his personal assistant, she's also on the insurance.
I'm coming to that point later, but first thing is he's not simply an assistant. He's in all the documentation everywhere, right, Mr. Alpar?
Yes.
So he is integral part of this business overall.
No, Mr. Alpar has more experience than Mr. Ratip in terms of street trade. Because he's been doing it a long time.
So he has been doing it for a long time. He is in all the documentation. He's integral part of the business. And now, this morning, you decided that you're going to withdraw him from this business.
Well, it wasn't this morning. I think it was done last week. But the point being here is that because of Mr. Alpar's experience, Mr. Ratip relies on that experience in terms of doing it. But it has been ongoing now. This Mr. Ratip's involvement now for what, 13 years?
I think there are two parts. One is experience, other is business relation. So we need to separate these two things from one another. Experience, yes, someone can come and fill in the gap when it comes to experience. An experienced person can do that job. But here I can clearly see that there is a clear, very detailed business relationship between Mr. Ratip and Mr. Alpar. And it is evident in all the documents which are submitted by your client.
Well, the only document the two documents you make reference to, one is the V5 for the vehicle and the policy of insurance.
So legally, if I get it right, you are live, you can tell me. If today Mr. Alpar says that he is the owner of van, he wants to take it away, he has the legal right to do that.
No, because he, as I say, all the logbook says is that he's the registered keeper. That's all it says. It doesn't say he's the owner.
So do you have any document which proves that who's the owner of the van?
I unfortunately don't have anything here in front of me, but I am fairly certain something can be found. But as I say, this is quite a long time back. Whether or not he has those records, I don't know. But
so yeah. And you mentioned in the email which was sent to council, it was mentioned that Mr. Alpar would be withdrawn as assistant.
Yes.
So what does this withdrawn mean?
Well, on my advice, I advise Mr. Ratip to withdraw Mr. Alpar, given the complaints, both of which related to him and clearly called for this hearing to take place. That was my advice to Mr. Ratip, that Mr. Alpar would be withdrawn and effectively to be removed effectively from any involvement in the business. That was my advice to him.
And what was his response?
Mr. Ratip, except he's a businessman. At the end of the day, he wants to be licensed. Sorry?
I got, so he accepted your good proposal that you advice you gave him. Did he mention that how soon he's going to do that?
I would imagine the logbook can be transferred back to Mr. Ratip. Obviously, that takes as long as the DVLA, but that can be done tomorrow. In that case, Mr. Alpar's name would then be removed from the policy of insurance. And I'm sure the rest of it is that Mr. Ratip will say to Mr. Alpar, you're no longer to have any involvement in this particular matter.
Running the operations and everything, right?
Indeed, yes. And I'm sure that Mr. Ratip can send an email to the licensing department to confirming that that's what will happen.
Anything else, Bassett?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Can I come to Rachel, and we will come to the other people, but Rachel first then.
Thank you, Chair. Just through you, Chair, I just wanted to clarify whilst we're on this point of involvement to assist the panel. I've noticed from the application that Mr. Ratip and Mr. Alpar have the same address and the same telephone number. I'm assuming that is a home address. Is that right? Do they live together?
No, Mr. Ratip and Mr. Alpar. No,
Yeah.
they don't.
So the address that's been given, whose address is that?
I believe that's an address that Mr. Alpar previously held, but it's no longer his address.
So it's on the application that was signed on the 22nd of October by Mr. Ratip.
I don't. It's not Mr. Ratip's address. I know that, and it's not Mr. Alpar's address either.
Sorry, this is my home address. This is my home address because I am dealing with the paperwork. So to make sure I receive green notices to place them around the van when like for the consultation period. So make sure I receive these notices and we can put them. So I provided my home address.
So why have you provided your home address for Mr. Alpar if he's an assistant?
This is not his address. This is my address. This is my home address.
But it's written on here as Mohammed Alpar, 8 Carlton Close. That's given as his address.
This is my address too.
So does Mr. Alpar live with you?
Yes.
What is Mr. Alpar's relationship to you?
Partner.
Yeah, there we go. That's answered it all.
So you're involved as Mr. Ratip's personal assistant.
Yeah.
But you're in a personal relationship with Mr. Alpar.
Yes, I can be somebody's partner and I can be somebody's personal assistant.
Thank you. Sorry, one other question. The telephone number is the same for Mr. Alpar and Mr. Ratip.
What is this phone number?
It's 07766227728.
Yeah, I can confirm it's Mr. Alpar's phone number, but I'm supposed to put my phone numbers because we lived together. I got confused. So because by any of the numbers, his number or my number, council could be contacted to the Mr. Ratip.
So the phone number on the application for Mr. Ratip is Mr. Alpar's phone number.
Yes.
And that's Mr. Alpar who's going to have nothing to do with this.
Yeah, we can. I just because usually I put my phone number, but I got confused.
And this is Mr. Alpar's home address and not Mr. Ratip's home address.
As I said, why I provided this home address, only reason for green notices that we have to place around the trading area.
So the application isn't in the company, which Jan Ratip is going to be operating as a sole trader, has not got the correct address on the application. Is that true?
It's my home address, as I said, because I provided it because I thought for council it would be more important if Mr. Ratip gets corresponding mails from council, so and green notices and everything.
So do we have Mr. Ratip's address?
Yes, we have.
Are you able to provide that?
Yes, not in the moment, but yeah, I need the time to do it. I can find it.
Is he based locally?
Sorry,
Does he live?
I don't know exactly where he lives.
Okay. Can I just ask Rachel? We seem to have an application which has got information on it that's not correct, and so therefore we don't know the address of the applicant in terms of the genuine applicant of Mr. Ratip. Can you just advise us as a committee in terms of, is this a legal application based upon misinformation being made in the application form?
Well, when the applicant signs the application, they declare the information given on the application is true and correct, and they understand that it's so actually it's not an offence not to provide correct information. However, they have signed, that is, Mr. Ratip has signed that the information is true and correct. If that is Mr. Ratip who's signed that.
Yes, as I said, it's only because for us to make sure he gets correspondent mails from council quicker, because sometimes he's in the country, sometimes he's not in the country, and we don't want to miss it because as when we apply for the license, we have to place the green notices.
But you could always have said, please use, this is his address, and please use this for correspondence.
So I didn't know this is like so serious for council to have his actual address, because I was thinking it's more important that he gets actually all information from council.
But he's not getting the information; it's going to you. But my point is,
if I talk to him any other day, so and I can tell him everything, because as Adonis said, he's got a few businesses, and he asked me to deal with the paperwork.
Okay, can I ask to come back to Rachel, please, because this concerns me in terms there's many players involved in this. We've now got people who were on the application that are now being withdrawn. We've now got addresses that aren't correct and phone numbers that aren't correct. Is this a legal submitted application, or should we disbar the application based upon it being an illegal application? Sorry, you're muted.
It's a legal application, legal, not illegal, in terms of it complies with all the administrative requirements. What you may want to take into account is that you have just established that the information on the application is not true and correct, and you may wish to give some weight to that, but that's entirely a matter for you. The other question I was going to ask, just to try and bottom this out, is that there's a signature on this document, but Yulia has indicated she doesn't know where Mr. Ratip lives. And my query is, how and where was this document signed?
So is that?
Can you answer that, Yulia?
It would probably be better for Yulia to sign it than Mr. Daniel, because I'm assuming he wasn't there.
But he is the legal representative.
He is the legal representative. He can't give evidence, so it's a matter for him. If he can answer it, then that's fine.
I can't answer that question. So.
Okay, Yulia, can you answer where he signed it?
Yes, I can answer this question. So when I met Mr. Ratip last time, we just applied for application, and he signed it. And when it was time to apply it, I just put the date.
So. When did Mr. Ratip sign this document, and where?
Mr. Ratip signed this the document when we was in Turkey. When we was in Turkey, he signed this application because we have to. We know when we have to apply renew the application, so we did it in advance. He signed the application, so and I put the date.
So he hasn't seen what he signed.
Of course, he's seen it, because I filled the application up. I fill it up. Application, and he signed it.
So you said he signed it in Turkey?
Yeah, I was there as well.
And all the information was filled in before he signed it?
Yeah, I filled it out and he signed it.
And he read all the information?
Yes, of course.
So why is the address on there not his address?
It's just because as I said, like for many years, when I used to apply for renewal, I put my address to make sure I received these notices and put them straight away on site.
Okay. Can we come to
This is my answer. This was the only answer, because I'm dealing with his paperwork. That's why I was thinking.
No,
it's,
I understand. We've heard you, Yulia. Thank you.
We
need to make progress, and we'll be all night. Bassett.
Adonis, you mentioned earlier in the meeting that Mr. Ratip's plan is to transfer the operations and it would be the PA of Mr. Ratip, right? Earlier
That's
in
right.
this meeting. Now, and when Alec asked you the question, how you are going to ensure that there is no involvement of Mr. Alper in the business, you mentioned, and it was very good that council can always approach and check that. Now, during the proceedings of this meeting, it is identified that the PA of Mr. Ratip is also partner of Mr. Alper as well. So it
Indeed.
comes back to my same point again. It has more business into it. And I'm still not satisfied the way I'm saying that when we say that Mr. Alper would be withdrawn from the business. And with all these things, the questions which Rachel has asked, so how you will ensure that he would be withdrawn? I'm going to ask you the same question again.
As I can say, all I can say on behalf of is Mr. Ratip, I will have a conversation with him, but obviously he'll be made aware of the concerns that have been outlined here, and it's a matter for him to ensure that he does everything so that it is demonstrable that Mr. Alper doesn't have an involvement anymore in this license. That's all what one can do. As I say, we've had a discussion prior to this hearing taking place. I've given him certain advices and so on. It's a matter for him to demonstrate that Mr. Alper no longer has any involvement. That's all I can say.
So were you aware, Mr. Daniels, of the relationship between Yulia and Mr. Alper?
No, I wasn't actually, but as I say, I've spoken to Mr. Ratip. So.
Okay, and you don't need to give it, but do you know an address for Mr. Ratip?
The honest answer is no, I don't.
Okay, interesting.
Because I've communicated with him either on the phone or via email.
Okay.
And quick question: when you say communicated via email or on the phone, did you receive the call from UK number?
I didn't actually check whether it was a WhatsApp call.
Can you check and confirm it as well later that whether you were communicating with Mr. Ratip while he was based in UK or in some other country?
Bear with me one moment.
Can I just interject while Mr. Daniel's speaking? I completely understand the question to Mr. Daniel, but Mr. Daniel is purely there to represent, and I don't want him to feel as though he's in a position of being cross-examined as to the facts. And it is a very fine line for a lawyer to have to draw. If Mr. Daniel's happy to answer these questions, then that's fine. But if he isn't, there should be no judgment on him as a lawyer. But it seems as though he might be happy.
Got it. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you.
It just comes at the WhatsApp. It just comes up with his name.
Okay.
Stephen, could I ask the officers a question?
Yes.
How important is it that we actually validate that Mr. Ratip actually exists and is a UK resident?
Alec, do you have any points you want to raise on this, and I'll talk about some policy aspects.
Okay, so before we answer that, Pauline, just something I wanted to add, tracking back a little bit. In terms of, again, my question about enforceability, now we know that Mr. Alper lives with the PA of Mr. Ratip. That's how can we enforce the no involvement? We can't go to the. I'm not sure we've got power to just go into their house and check they're not communicating about the business. I think it would be very difficult again for us to enforce all lack of involvement if that's what the panel would like to consider as an option. So just to reiterate my point there, I'll pass back to Kieran.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something? Because this, get bogged down into this. What aspects of it do you see that the fact that Mr. Alpar is living with the personal assistant? I'm not quite sure what decision making or things involvement could Mr. Alpar have that effectively is a negative one.
Could I have an answer? Could I have an answer to the question about the person who's applied for the license and the status of that person? I mean, I'm now concerned that they may not exist or may not live in the UK. Is that a problem?
Thank you, Councillor. I think as part of this application and some of the issues that are presented in it, it's leading ourselves as officers to consider reviewing our own policy. The policy there is an inherited policy from Wokingham and the Public Protection Partnership. And we know other authorities, from just doing a slight scoping exercise, other local authorities have moved forward with the likes of having DBS checks for these types of applications. So I think in terms of a learning exercise, there's certainly some ability to strengthen our own local policy in the future. And it may be the case that we bring that before the licensing committee. The questions that you're angling at here in terms of a localized decision, I think you'd want to be interested in terms of a passport. You maybe want to be interested in terms of DBS checks for the people that are present. But the reality is that we've not heard from the two people who've made the objections, although we've had the content of their representation and everyone's read the reports in advance, so we've got an idea. But the reality is, through this hearing and also in terms of the officer that's presented his report here, is that Mr. Alpar is so significantly involved with this business. It turns to the enforceability factor, where the opening was in terms of considering what conditions might be appropriate here. The enforceability is slipping. Is slipping in terms of scope of that, and within the report, the officer's report from Mr. Coomer, he is giving way to the direction for this subcommittee in terms of the more stronger approaches for decisions that could be made. But to answer your question, it's likely that locally we'll step to reviewing the policy. In other council areas, they may ask for DBS checks and so on, but that is not what's present at Wokingham at this stage.
So can I just clarify then? If we've got somebody that's applying for a license, we ask for no evidence about whether of the fact that they actually exist. We ask for no evidence of their address. If we cannot actually find the person who's actually got the license at the point we've given the license or after that, what's our comeback? What does that mean to us in reality if we've got somebody that we've got no proof that they exist and we don't know where they live, having a license? What's that implication in terms of enforcement?
Ma'am, we've it makes it difficult to enforce. We've as part of the application form, we do ask for a name and address. It appears to be the case that this application itself is an invalid application where that information has not been provided accurately, which obviously steps in terms of the enforceability on this occasion. But we do ask for some information, but in this application, it's not accurately provided.
Okay, so we could happily reject this and ask for proof of existence of the person who's applying for the license and proof of address.
Ma'am, you could ask for those things, but in terms of the matters that are being heard, and we're yet to hear from the two objectors that are present. There are quite considerable issues that have been raised. The fact that an address has not been provided is building upon the involvement that Mr. Alpar may have with this business, I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rachel's.
Come to Rachel next. Sorry, as your legal advisor. You're muted.
Just to assist you, Chair, and your panel members, I'm going back to an answer that Yulia gave a few minutes ago, but I don't really understand the answer. She suggested that Mr. Ratip signed this and then she filled it in, but then she said she filled it in with Mr. Ratip in Turkey, and I'm not sure which the correct answer was.
So, Yulia, could you clarify?
Correct answer, yes, correct answer was we filled it out together, and he signed it. That time we were together in Turkey, so and I got it ready for renewal because I knew Mr. Ratip got problems in health issue, and he is having his health treatment in Turkey. So that's why I made sure he read it, he signed it to make sure so our application is going to be ready when we need to do a renewal.
Does Mr. Ratip live in Turkey?
He is not living in Turkey, but because of his health issue, he is going there very often.
So where does he live?
I don't know personally where he lives because, as I said, we talked to him on the phone and on the emails and the WhatsApp.
So he may live in Turkey.
He may stay there. I don't know. I don't know because I'm just doing his work like a few times a year, and what he asking me to book his appointments, to answer some emails, but I'm not living with him. I don't know about his personal life.
So
because now he doesn't invite me for to his house.
So if there's a problem, where are Wokingham Borough Council supposed to come to if this license is granted?
Post.
What address? Well,
yeah,
address?
that's why I provided my address to make sure, as I said, to place notices, green notices, and make sure if he received the license, I can laminate it and place it on his van.
So does he have anything to do with this business at all?
He does. He's telling me what to do, who I can put on, who I cannot.
Thank you.
Can we come to Lucienne?
Yes, just to make sure I got this right. So this is what I understood. You filled in the application form together with Mr. Ratip in Turkey, and subsequently you added the date. Is that right?
Yes, I added the date because I was not sure when I need to apply for application. I knew I have to do it in October, but I didn't know exact date because usually I receive reminder from council. So that's why I added the date.
Okay, I think there'll be a question mark around this, but I'm not sure that it's. I seem to remember that it was said at another hearing that it's problematic when the date and signature are not done at the same time, but I'm sure we'll come to it. Thank you.
Alec, can I come to you?
Thank you. So Yulia has just said if there's a problem with this application of the street trading consent, we should come to her. So in a situation where it may be that we put a condition that removes Mr. Alpar from involvement in the business and we go to his partner, surely if nothing else, that's a bit of a conflict of interest?
I don't think so because I can contact. So it's only if you come to me, I can contact probably Mr. Ratip quicker than you can. So this is because, as I said, due to his health issues, I'm dealing with his paperwork. So that's why. So I could contact him quicker. That's why.
Yeah, that's not the point that Alec was raising, but that's fine. Thank you.
I do understand. He says it's something to do with Mr. Alpar, but if something comes from our council to pass to Mr. Ratip, like for Mr. Ratip, I can pass information quicker to Mr. Ratip. This is what I was saying.
Let us move to the objectors at this point. And then
I think
I'll reconsider whether we're even going to go ahead with anything here. So can we come to Gary Clark first, please? Sorry, I know you've got your hand up, Mr. Sikandar, but we will get there.
Yeah, I think effectively we have already dealt with our objection on the basis that Mr. Alpar has been removed. The only thing I would say is that the application that's been made in Mr. Ratip's name, is that his full name, or is there a Christian name, additional Christian name involved with that? Because normally Thames Valley Police would do basic background checks on the applicants, and that basically is what's flagged up the issue as far as we're concerned with the assistants. So I'd be very surprised if we didn't do a background check on Mr. Ratip. Okay. My colleague that was handling that, but I can't verify that at this stage. But it just made me wonder whether there was a middle name that's not on the application.
Mr. Daniels, as his authorised representative, do you have any other names for him at all?
Application forms a name. Chair, it seems to me at this point there are a number of issues that need clarification on, and my suggestion, subject to of course the agreement, is that perhaps this hearing be adjourned, that information be provided to you, and then I think you'll be in a better position, because at the moment there's some suggestion as to whether or not Mr. Ratip actually exists, and perhaps the police can do a check on that. That's not a problem. And an address established, and I think those things will help you clarify the situation, and then you can make a proper informed decision rather than on the inferences that have been drawn because of there's a lack of information. There's a vacuum, effectively, of information.
You're not wrong about that. You may not wish to answer this, but I will ask it and then defer to what you decide to answer. In a legal situation, you know, you're obviously an authorised solicitor, I would take it. I think that's your position.
Well, I think your legal advisor knows me, so she can confirm.
No, that's absolutely fine. I'm not challenging that at all. What I'm thinking about is my background was in financial services, and we used to have a thing about knowing your client, knowing where the money is coming from. And I just wondered whether your firm has done similar checks, because I'm assuming that you're being paid.
Well, all I can say is that I've known Mr. Ratip for about 15 years.
Okay.
Myself, personally.
But you've never met, is what you said also, I think.
No, I've met him on a number of occasions.
Oh, okay. You have met him. Okay.
Oh, yes, numerous occasions.
But you didn't have an address. Okay, that's fine. No. I misunderstood what you'd said there. Okay. Yeah. Let me give Mr. Sikandar or his sister a chance to speak now, and then we'll review whether we carry on. I'm aware, Pauline, you want to speak as well, but if we can come to you as let's see if we're going to go any further.
Thank you. I will try and keep this very short and simple. In fact, most of my questions were asked by most members present in the meeting today. One of my questions was, as a fairly junior solicitor, we do conflict checks, and I'm honestly not doubting your integrity, no criticism to you, but I certainly, once my assistants do those checks, we certainly check that we have their name, address, and that's the only way we can do a conflict check. So I was very surprised to hear that you only received a call on WhatsApp with his name. And again, like I say, you are fairly senior to myself, no disrespect intended, but it is very surprising, as like I say, a fairly junior solicitor to do that. I also strongly believe, again, I'm not questioning your credibility, that Mr. Alpar is in the room with you today. I may be wrong, it may well be your assistant, but I strongly believe that. And like I say, I'm not questioning your credibility, that's just my statement today. Just a bit of background in relation to this. We know Mohammed, who we call Mo Alpar, for a number of years. I am 36 years old and pretty much a little girl when he came and lived in this house rent-free with his first wife. We knew him very well. The first van he bought was off my father, and that's when he subsequently developed the rest of the vans. We have a very good relationship. We did up until recently. We, in good faith, purchased this van off him. So the van was misplaced. It's my understanding that Mr. Alpar had reported it lost or stolen to the police. My brother, who sat next to me here, found this in an abandoned car park, phoned Mo, who was at the time in Turkey, said, I am really sorry. Can you please get spare keys made and take it with you? Can you please run this for me? His exact statement was, I think I'm an alcoholic. I'm losing my kidneys. My liver's not working. I can't run the business. Everybody I seem to give it to are either using and abusing me and are drug dealing in it. Therefore, can you please take care of the van? A price of 30,000 was agreed. I can give you receipts that 18,000 was paid to him. The remainder 12 was meant to be upon the return of my father coming into the country, at the time was in Pakistan.
I asked him for the logbook,
yes,
and he said he had lost the logbook and he was applying for a new logbook. So I kept asking him, where's the logbook? At least give me the logbook. And he kept, but I've known him since 1997. He lived in this exact house that I'm sat in at the moment. So I didn't.
We had no reason to trust his integrity, to question his integrity. We had absolutely no reason. And in all fairness, I think the pressure comes from Yulia more than Mo himself. Things went really well for the first book. He was there on the day of the opening. He FaceTimed my dad, said, I'm working for Ghazi now. He said to Ghazi, which sister of yours is a solicitor? I went forward and said, I'm a family solicitor. He said to me, I need to speak to you in relation to a private matter. And I said, go ahead. He said, not today, in a private meeting. He then did subsequently speak to me. And this is the disclosure he made to me. He is hiding all his assets from his ex-wife, as I believe there are financial remedy proceedings going on. Mo owns all the businesses, all the vans. Hang on, we get there. All the businesses. He's actually the owner. Yulia is his partner. She is not Mr. Ratcliffe's assistant. Mr. Ratcliffe is in fact living in Turkey, very rarely comes to England, and he's only been used. So Mr. Alpar, who's Mo, can hide his assets from his ex-wife so she can't make a claim in financial remedies. Please may I add, at this stage, we have evidence, voice recordings from Mo, which we have passed on to the private lawyer of his ex-wife. We have provided a statement. We have all of this recorded. If that evidence is needed, we are more than welcome to hand that over to you. We were meant to give him the 12,000 on the 13th of November when my dad was meant to be returning, because that was in his accounts. The remainder went from our siblings, and we're more than happy to give receipts for that. Mo asked for the money in cash, so he didn't declare it to his taxman. Can I just add at that point, and we've also got evidence of this, that the previous van that was by a person was taking personal payments, and we've got his account details from a local resident in Woodley who came forward and provided those details. It's my understanding it's money laundering. When we opened the van, Mo is aware of this, there were so many drug issues that we had to put cameras up to deter that. And those cameras are probably still up on the van, which, unless he's thrown them, we left them on the van. We had to deter those. The van was in a horrible state. We've got pictures of it. Absolutely nothing. Mo did not wait and then said, we want rent. We tried to explain and we agreed. On the 26th of October, he said, that's fine. When your dad comes, pay me the 12,000. But in the meantime, and we've got recording of her showing us at my brother's address. She had my brother's, two of my nephews, and one of my niece's husband's certificate saying, I'm going to submit to the council. The license expires on the 18th of November. I will be doing this application and I need their details to transfer the license into your brother's name. We've got this on our Ring doorbell and on our cameras. I am more than happy to send this over. However, on the 26th, which was a Saturday, Yulia verbally abused us at the van. She came drunk, viewed racism, called us a terrorist, and said that they had changed, Mo had changed his mind and he no longer wanted to sell it, and it's his business and he can do what he can do. I swear, we did not say anything. We did not reply. We let her leave because we realized she was drunk, and in the evening, and we went in a neighborhood, which obviously you can't make their noise. On the 27th at 11:30, nearly midday, Julia, Mo, and an unknown so-called gangster turned up at our address, my brother's address, where we have a disabled child, 3 young nieces who were absolutely honestly bawling at their eyes out, threatened to harm us, my nieces, the eldest only being 13, refused to move her car when I said there's a disabled child who needs emergency medical attention. She refused to move her car. They bought so-called a gangster who said to us, give us the van back. And we explained to them that Mo has sold the van. We then had a disclosure from Mo, which is also recorded, and we can give that evidence. You don't know. I was sectioned apparently. He's had mental health issues, and I do believe he struggles to regulate his emotions. He said in that disclosure that you don't know how mad I am. I've got a spare key. I will burn the van down. At that point, the van was returned to him. Mo subsequently made a complaint to the police that we had threatened to harm him, assault by beating, stealing. My brother was not arrested. He went in for a voluntary interview at 8 o'clock in the morning. At 8:35, he was let back out. The next morning, 9 o'clock, action. Mo has since then put on Facebook, this is a so-called associate who's not in any way involved in this, on Facebook, has put from about a week, 2 weeks now, and this is since he has realized that no further action was taken. He's firstly put, you think the game is over. I don't know if you can see, there is a huge reflection. You think the game is over. It's never over. He then subsequently puts a picture of my brother on Facebook. Again, you can see, and this is a picture that we put on for his license, which Julia has on her phone. This is the picture, and don't worry, there's comments under there calling us terrorists, racist,
rape us,
excuse our language, fuck his mum, I will kill him. We then got a phone call, and this is when it all changed. I went to High Wycombe on Monday, the 9th of December. On my way back, there are 2 vans, one at Charwell, one at Knoll Hill. I swear on my kids' life, they have Alp on them. We did not know that they belonged to Mo. My brother knew I didn't. My little girl wanted a kebab, so we went to one which says Alpa. As soon as I went, the guy said to me, are you Ghazi's sister? I denied it because I was fearful for my life. I was worried what they could do, the threats that had been made. By the way, they have been reported. These Facebook things have been reported.
There's the crime reference numbers, 3 of them.
Mo has put the crime reference numbers to my brother, called him a rat, disclosed what he does as a job. He's a taxi license. He's apparently a terrorist. He's going to rape our mum. He's going to fuck his kids. Those are the exact words used on those posts.
Okay, can I just ask you to pause there for a moment, because I want to get some advice on this from Rachel, if I can. Rachel and Luciane, I'm just wondering if we can go into closed session and put the other people into on suspension for a moment while I get some advice from you. Is that allowed, or is that not allowed, Luciane?
That's not a problem at all. It may be that I need to repeat the advice that I've given, but yes, if we go into closed session, so I suggest I'm just wondering the easiest way to do it.
Put people into
as well, Rachel, because let me just I'm live streaming. We do have 4 people watching this, and if I stop the live streaming,
leave the live streaming on, and we will go into a separate meeting.
Can't we use the pre-briefing meeting that we had before?
Yes,
we can. Let's join it.
Yeah. So let's do that. So I will just.
We stay here.
You stay here. Yeah.
So we leave this, Luciane, and join the pre-briefing again. Yeah.
Okay.
gonna leave it on.
Sorry, I'll unmute myself. I think we're just waiting for one or two other people to come back in. We got Rachel back. Are we back on, Lucian? Okay, I'll give you a moment. Right, thank you. I'm going to move to the summing up stage and give each party an opportunity to sum up, and then we will close to make a decision. So if we follow the same order that we have before, this is not a time for any new information. This is just a time for anything. And if I think we've already heard it and it's not relevant, then I will close it down, because everyone's had a good opportunity to speak quite at length so far. So if we can go to Alec first, please, for your summing up. And I'll come to you, Kieran. I see you're indicating, but I'll come to you after that. So Alec first, please.
I was going to ask actually if I could refer to Kieran first, and then
Okay.
I'll sum up
Fair
afterwards.
enough. Kieran.
That's kind of you, Alec. It was heard earlier on in the call, and I think Luciani tried to categorise this, but could just for clarity, in terms of how the meeting has been run. For Mr. Adonis, could we please invite the person that's with you to be viewed on screen as well, and provide the name of that person that's joined you in Shoot End today? You're just on mute, Mr. Adonis.
Mr. Daniel, you're on mute.
Sorry, yep, I'm just, sorry, yes. That person is no longer here.
The person who's sat next to you now, please. Could you?
There's nobody sat next to. There's nobody sat next to me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Adonis. Are you at Shoot End, Wokingham Borough Council, in the lobby area?
There you are. I've turned my camera around.
Okay.
Sorry, I live read too. He just told him to leave before he unmuted. No disrespect.
Thank you kindly. Mr. Adonis, we've got reason to believe that Mr. Alpar has joined you during the session earlier on today. Obviously, with it being a public area, the public area is covered by CCTV within the facility. So for the panel's benefit,
He was here.
yeah, we
He was here
understand
earlier,
that.
but he's
We
no longer here.
we recognise that. So just for the panel's benefit, we have had Mr. Alpar present during this subcommittee briefing, and our colleagues in facilities have captured that footage as well. In terms of summing up, I think I will defer to Alec. I think he's much more comfortable with this. And if you want to provide your summing up, Alec, thanks.
Thank you, Kieran. So yes, a lot's been said. But just to summarise, an application from Mr. Jan Ratip has been submitted to renew a street trading consent. Mr. Mohammed Alpar was named as an assistant on there, and this raised a few concerns with us, thanks to a police representation and a representation submitted by Mr. Sikandar there. I think a number of concerning allegations have come out of this meeting, and I think more irregularities around in terms of addresses, signatories, relationships between individuals, and now it would appear Mr. Alpar has been in the meeting unannounced for a couple of hours, as leads us to have sort of significant concerns over the integrity of this business. And as I said earlier as well, the threshold for refusal of a street trading consent is very low, and therefore we would encourage the committee to consider refusing on the grounds that this is not a business that can be trusted to be fit and proper. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. As the official representative, Mr. Daniels, I'll ask you to sum up.
I don't have a great deal to add. As I said, this is a business that's been ongoing since 2011, or longer than that. It's never come before a committee hearing. As I say, the issues that have been raised regarding Mr. Alpar don't relate directly to the business itself, and therefore, in my submission, they should be disregarded.
Okay, can I just ask you, when was Mr. Alpar removed from the business?
I removed him several times. He came in, told him to go away. He came back. I told him to go.
I said from the business, not from the call, but from the business.
Oh, sorry. From the business, it would have been. I spoke to Mr. Ratip last week about the application when he instructed me to attend on his behalf. That's when I spoke to him. I don't know specifically when he spoke to Mr. Alpar himself, but that's my advice, and he indicated that that's what he would do.
Right. So were you surprised that Mr. Alpar was sitting next to you for this meeting?
I'm surprised when he came, and I told him to leave several times.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Rachel.
Can I just say, Chair,
sorry, quickly, Stephen, quick one, because there was a sorry, one quick question.
Sorry, can I just finish with Mr. Daniels, and I'll come to you, Bassett, and then Rachel. Yes. Sorry, you're about to die.
My laptop, unfortunately, is about to die. I don't have a charger, so I just make
you aware.
That's
fine. We're going to be closing very shortly, but thank you.
Mr. Daniel, just quickly, when you said you were speaking to your assistant, who was that?
Oh, my colleague Ariana, but she's gone now. She left some time ago.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. So we had another person present. Okay, Bassett.
Quick one. So that email still valid, which was sent to Borough Council, that Mr. Alpar is withdrawn as assistant from the business? Is that email still valid?
Yes,
because keeping in view that Mr. Alpar was sitting next to you?
As I say, I've told him to leave on a number of occasions because I was concentrating on this. He is withdrawn from the business. He's no longer involved. That's the advice I gave to Mr. Ratip. That's what he told me he would be doing.
Okay. He was sitting here without your permission. I'm just wanted to confirm that.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clark, anything from you in terms of summing up? Anything different?
No, as I say, I mean, I think the removal of him from the business has been agreed. Yeah, words fail me, quite frankly, for some of the things that have gone on today. So hopefully you will make the correct decision. Thank you.
It's another classic. Mr. Sikandar, anything from you in summing up? Don't repeat what you've said before, but just a summary if you want to say anything quickly.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that Mr. Alpar was probably removed after the 9th of December. That's when we got the phone calls to say that it's being transferred to somebody else. You've heard a lot. I don't need to repeat myself. I agree with Alec Coomber. I don't think it's a business that he should be. He will always remain involved to take up the documents as such. I think we are the legal owners, and if his license is refused, that it should be granted to my brother. Thank you.
Well, that's not within our remit, but thank you. Okay, I think if there's nothing else, I'm going to close the meeting. I'll invite the panel to go back to our other session, and we will make a decision which we will notify in writing within 5 working days if we can get an address for the applicant, Mr. Ratib. But we'll see where that might end up.
Can you send it to my? Can you email or send it to my address, my business address?
Is that okay, Rachel?
That is not a problem at all. I would still like to know where to send it to Mr. Ratip, but I don't think we're going to get the answer to that today.
I can, if you send me, I will email that to you, Rachel. Okay, you have my email address anyway, Rachel, I know that, yeah. Thank you.
Then can I thank everybody for your time this afternoon? As I say, we'll make our decision and it'll be communicated in 5 working days. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.